breezy day today, man. Out here in Georgia. Summer vacation, you know the vibes. Just chilling in my bed, watching YouTube. And then I came across this video of Dave Rubin. Uh, so I decided to go ahead and just do a throwback clip about Dave Rubin. He used to be on the left a few years ago, but he had this huge ideological shift. He split from the Young Turks, and he just went off and started doing his own thing. It was quite weird for me to be watching that live and then now seeing the type of faux intellectual that he is. So before I start throwing shots at the dude, let me go ahead and break down what he was talking about. He was talking about how socialism isn't cool. That was the title of the video, and he was just railing about that. So I'm going to show you all a clip of this. I think it's just so interesting to just see what this guy has to say about this type of thing. And then I'll break down my thoughts.
Staggering. A tweet I set out saying socialism isn't cool even got me into a little exchange on Twitter with the official verified Socialist Party, who explained to me that socialism has actually never been tried, which is why we don't know if it'll work yet. Perhaps they should tell that to the people of Venezuela right now who are fighting for food and basic services as they watch their socialist system collapse on top of them. The ideas of socialism, that the means of production, distribution, and labor should be owned, controlled, and regulated by the community as a whole, are the worst sort of collectivist ideas which exist. The very implication that the group knows what is good for the individual, that we exist to do things for the greater good, is totally antithetical to the purpose of being human. It's your job to find value in your work, to strive for more than you have, to bring good to yourself and the people around you, and to live as a free person as you see fit. The very idea that you should set aside your individuality for the community as a whole, which virtually always turns into an intolerant, hostile mob, is exactly why so many have died in socialist regimes. Though what they're not telling you is that the greater good is usually for the tiny minority in the elite protected class. Their ideas have never worked and will never work because a system built on stripping our humanity is in direct conflict with what it means to be human. I've said it before and I'll say it again, this perfect system which they wish to create can never be perfect because we humans, as flawed as we are part of it. Imperfect beings cannot create a perfect system, but what we can create is a system that always does its best to further the advancement of human freedom. For all its flaws, this is what capitalism is, which is why if you're watching this from a capitalist society, you should consider yourself one of the lucky ones. Of course, in America, politicians don't outright call themselves socialists. They say that they're democratic socialists. This is Bernie Sanders' mantra as he calls for a revolution of every kind, be it political, social, or even environmental, whatever that means. What Bernie forgets or intentionally obfuscates is that the democratic part of this, of course, will always be tossed away as socialism takes root. It's also why there's no doubt in my mind that eventually the social justice movement will turn on Bernie himself, and I think there's already plenty of evidence of that. Democracy is the enemy of socialism, and Bernie's trying to have it both ways.
Wow, bro, wow. That's crazy to me, man. That's crazy. You know, I honestly believe that there is not just a philosophical difference, not just a policy difference. I think that there is a genuine difference in the chemical makeup of a progressive's mind and a conservative's mind. I remember watching this TED Talk like a couple months ago, and it was talking about how basically the mind of a liberal and the mind of a conservative are fundamentally different in the fact that the area of the brain that controls like your empathy, it is much larger in a liberal. On average, they actually studied this compared to a conservative. The area of the brain that controls empathy and compassion for others is much stronger in a liberal. And I just think videos like this are perfect examples of that. So what is the basic premise of his argument? What did he present here? He's saying that capitalism equates freedom. Capitalism equates opportunity. Capitalism is what it means to be human, right? And then socialism equates restriction, constriction. Socialism breaks the human spirit. And I think that is so fundamentally wrong. That is just so wrong. Like, before I even get into the policy, let's just go back to the days of cavemen. What was your objective? What was your job? it wasn't just to survive. Your objective, if you were a empathetic human being, was to make sure that everybody survived, to provide for everybody in your community, to make food, to provide, to hunt, to survive, not just for yourself, but for others. Because what are you without anybody else in your life? What are you? You're just a human being. You're mortal. You have limits. You're just a collection of dust and skin and bone. But when you're surrounded by love in a society, that's where your identity really comes from. If you were just alone in this world, that would be a miserable life. But I feel like for conservatives, they're much closer on the spectrum of I'm the only one that matters. Everybody else around, the group think, the collective good, the greater good of society, that is just much less relevant to me. I think that's incredible. I think that type of train of thought is just incredible. So no, I fundamentally disagree with the idea that human purpose is simply to pursue your own individual dreams and aspirations. That's not just what you're here for. You're here to love. You're here to grow. You're here to connect. You're here to enjoy yourself. And yeah, enjoying yourself can mean buying yourself a nice pair of shoes, buying yourself a huge house, buying yourself a fancy car. But enjoying yourself could also just mean a beautiful just time with somebody, whether it just be sitting back, relaxing, enjoying a basketball game, staying up till 5 a.m. just having a deep talk, whether it just be getting a cup of coffee with somebody, just having at a party with people, just relaxing. So much more real and genuine to me. Human connection, human love, that genuine, just warm feeling that you feel when you are connecting with another human being, that is so much more powerful than simply pursuing my own dreams and hopes and aspirations. If I couldn't make another YouTube video in my life, I would still be happy because as long as I'm surrounded by the people that I love, the people that I care about. That's real. That's real. And I feel like applying that basic human logic, that basic tenet of what makes us a human being, applying that to economic theory is extremely important, right? Because you have to understand that your mindset can't just be limited to your own individual success, your own individual freedom. It can't just be about the individual. It has to be about the collective, because that is what makes us human. That is what makes us human. That is what pumps through our veins. We are social beings. If you were simply alone and isolated in this world, you would be living a miserable life. But if you are surrounded by the people that you love, if you are surrounded by genuine human connection, that is real. There's a reason why a baby comes out the womb and has to be touched, has to be felt, has to be surrounded by love, or else it dies. There's a reason for that. And you have to apply that same mindset to the way that we view economics. Now, another point that he made was that socialism is not compatible with democracy. It couldn't be further from the truth. It could not be further from the truth. And again, it's getting to this huge right-wing talking point that socialism is the same as communism, authoritarian communism. That socialism is the exact same thing. That socialism is what Venezuela tried to do. That socialism is what the Soviet Union tried to do. That socialism is what the Chinese tried to do. And all of these authoritarian regimes across the globe, that is inaccurate. It's just a fundamental mischaracterization of what socialism truly means. Now, again, I'm not advocating to see socialism in its purest form. Like what the Socialist Party of America said is true. It has never been seen in its purest form because capitalist societies have continually attacked them and marginalized them and isolated them from the rest of the global economic system. They have tried their best to root them all out. However, I'm not advocating to see that realized. What I'm advocating for is taking those more humane, those more collectivist, and just beautiful, fruity, lovey parts of socialism and taking that and applying it to capitalism, right? So we can strike that balance of individual freedom, individual choice, freedom of speech and expression and whatever, but also striking that balance where those freedoms are not impugning upon the dignity and the decency in the lives of other people. We have to put those assurances in place, whether that be through the form of a UBI, whether that be through the form of Social Security, whether that be through the form of higher taxes on the rich, universal education, Medicare for all of these social safety net programs that ensure that everyone, regardless of their race, their class, their socioeconomic status, their background, their orientation, whatever, that whoever you are, you have the right and the opportunity to live a dignified life in this society. That is the goal. That is the goal. And he is fundamentally misunderstanding true economic theory. Dave believes that as long as there is freedom, Dave believes that as long as there is opportunity and just you allow people to just take care of themselves, things will work out. But this is not the jungle. This is not some animal kingdom. This is real life. This is civilization. We are social beings. We made the pledge that we're going to be in a society, that we're going to live together and we're going to cooperate. And in order to do that, you cannot trance upon the feet of everybody else in that society. We're social beings. Inside of our DNA makes us care about the pain and the struggle of others. And if you can't, you're a sociopath. Now, I'm not calling Dave Rubin a sociopath, but what I'm saying is somewhere in your DNA, there has to be some urge to care about the well-being of others. And you have to factor that in to your economic theory. You have to factor that into how you structure a society. So again, I'm not advocating for pure capitalism or pure socialism. What the goal should be as a society is a blend of the best aspects of both systems. Individual freedom, individual opportunity, as well as the assurance that everybody in the society can live a dignified and decent life. So again, not pure equality, but also not pure freedom. A blend of all aspects. And ultimately, I feel like the product of that is the best iteration of what human civilization has to offer, at least in modern times. So again, it goes back to simply giving a shit about the strife of others, the struggle of others. And if you can reach beyond your limited bubble, again, I think Dave Rubin lives in a bubble. He cannot see beyond his own problems. But if you can see beyond that, you realize that this world is beautiful as long as we reach out and help one another and love one another and apply that to how we conduct our society.
Love.